Aloha. Welcome to our international community. We are so delighted to be here. My name is Roxanne Ruby. I've got Aubrey Morgan Yee here with me today, the author of Our Beloved Futures, as well as my dear friend and sister and uh, co-student on an eternal path of studying the sacred arts and sciences and how it is that we can step up as stewards and uh, caretakers of this beautiful, caregivers of this beautiful earth that we share and call home. Today, we are in for a very special conversation. I'm so excited for this deep dive. And we are going to be weaving about our two projects. We have Inheritance Collective, which, if you're live here with us for this podcast taping, welcome to Inheritance. This is a global community of people that are brought together through the shared purpose of caring for that which has been given to us, the birds and the bees and the trees and the seeds and all of this divine inheritance that we have received, and learning how to take care of it so that we can pass it on to the next generation. And one of our real blueprints for this work as of late has been the book Our Beloved Futures,
Mm.
which has been a beautiful transmission, a channeling, an offering from Aubrey and your channel of wisdom that you are. And it's a book, but it's so much more than that. And we're going to be talking about this today and seeing wherever the conversation goes. So, with that, I want to say thank you to whoever is live with us right now. And also, thank you for your presence and your participation within this prayer, as this is a living prayer. For those that are also catching the recording, thank you for being here. And may everything that we share here be nourishing for you and for the web of relations that surround you. Aubrey, pass it over to you, Mama.
Thank you, Roxanne. Such a gift to be here with you. I adore you so much, and all that you hold and tend is so beautiful, and just so much light in your being and what you carry forth. And I'm really excited to shine that on all the work that's being done as we speak about it today. So, just opening us with a prayer as we hold in our hearts. You can close down your eyes if you wish, or just feel into your body, feeling your heart expanding to this moment and knowing that there are many of us all around the planet holding this shared prayer of thriving in this time of the great turning, in this time of what some may call apocalypse, which is really just the great unveiling, the showing us of what needs to shift, what needs to change, which becomes a profound opportunity to rise into our greatness. And so we feel around us now all the beings, human, more than human, multidimensional ancestors, wise and well ones, that hold us in our prayers and our work and our dedication to new and more beloved futures that really hold us in our thriving. And we spread that prayer for thriving to the whole collective. May all beings be happy and free. May all be lifted up by this force of love that we hold. And may our dreams and visions come to life, because each of us holds a piece of this incredible tapestry of something that wants to emerge. And we're all important. We all matter because we're here, and we're here because we matter. So remembering that in your own soul, may the words that we share today be taken to the ears and hearts that need to hear them so they can feel lifted up in who they are in this moment. And we give thanks to all that has holds us here now and has brought us to this moment. All the conspiring forces is incredible when you think about it. Mahalo ke akua, blessed be, and so it is. Giving thanks. And so I thought, to open us, I'll read a piece from the book. This is the book that came through me, really. In many ways, I would finish writing and read back what I wrote, and I was like, "Who wrote that?" So somebody was writing through me, and and again, like all that we share, it's like your whole life has prepared you for this moment. So lean into the wisdom that is you, because you hold so much in your being, in your soma, and who you are, that we often don't pay attention to. So I'll read this page. I like to do bibliomancy with the book, where I'll just flip and see what comes through, because it's that kind of a book where you can just read a page and see what wisdom wants to be shared. So this is today. It's from the chapter called Solar Plexus, on sort of the fire within in our solar plexus region of our energetic body. So as we weave our ancestors' voices into new songs, the tapestry of peace becomes around us. When we fully begin to exist at these frequencies, new worlds of dimensionality open for us, and we can float among the fears, invisible to their touch. This is the stuff of magic. Salt is the crystalline memory of water. Water's words become form from the formless fluidity of its knowing. Each deposit melded with the particular earth it touches. Each deposit perfectly created to translate Earth's daily message into our embodiments. The ancient ones made ways to catch water in rock, on wood, in vessels they made for this purpose. The salts precious and revered, the water within the human requires merging with these salts, and through the gathering of salts, the ancients communicated with Gaia's waters, learning of places far away that traveled across oceans to speak to them in dreams. This is how we moved. This is how we learned of the next steps and visions to propel us onward in communion with Earth. Holding the potential of electricity, the potentiality of pure power, the salt crystals represent the potential of communication with the divine. You are the brilliance of the sun herself, grounded as the earth, your body lit with the love of a million fires. At your birth, more than 10,000 times the energy of the sun coalesced to make the supernova that became you in this human experience, whole and holy, wholesome. The waters of your embodiment seek to understand the words of Earth's waters. The salts are the bridge between ocean's depths and the magic of your being. Thousands of miles these waters have traveled, and being in the ocean, they speak her entire language in one drop. Whale song and jellyfish dance, these waters hold and transmit the powerful energies of the earth you witness in the waves. Ingest of this deep earth wisdom, and as the salts rejoin with the waters of your body, the electric pulse created connects you to the mother tongue. She is ready to speak through you. So that's what wanted to come through for us here. And I'd love, an inquiry I've been sitting with lately, and I think this really speaks to both of our work and how it weaves, is this idea of becoming useful in this moment, in this time of what some might call collapse, dissolving, apocalypse, unveiling, the great remembering. There's so many different names, but what does it mean to become useful? And I feel like a lot of the work I'm doing is to help people awaken to their usefulness in the various ways that can become possible. And I think Inheritance Collective very much so came from that same prayer of like, how might we collectively become useful to this moment? And, when you tap into that very potent collective energy, there's so much possibility. And so I just open with that kind of invitation to see what is coming through for you.
Wow. Well, first of all, like, immediately you start reading from the book and it brings tears to my eyes. And then to honor the relevance of everything that you just shared, that excerpt is so profound and very deeply connected to me for him. Yeah, feeling into the waters and the salts and the sun and these elemental beings that we are, and this moment that we're in, and also very relevant, the initial inquiry that we have here of considering our usefulness. What's been coming up for me in this topic lately, that is, and the mantra that has been alive in my heart recently is, what can I do? What I just got to do what I can with what I've got. And I feel like it's worth sharing a little story from just my evening, literally yesterday in my house. I just got back from spending 2 weeks out of my house and was moving back in, and the house was messy. My stuff was everywhere. It was overwhelming, to say the least. And I came back to this mantra of like, okay, keep it simple, just do what I can with what I've got. And I started at one side of the house, and I would just I put music on, I was singing, I made it enjoyable, you know.
Yeah.
And I just took my time and I would just do like one zone at a time. And before I knew it, it was beautiful and wonderful to be in my home again, and not this chaos. And I feel like that's a really clear metaphor of like it can be tricky to look at the poly crisis and look at the entirety of what we're facing right now. But if we just start in our own little corners, doing what we can with what we've got, we can really move the marker together, especially.
Yeah. Absolutely. It has me thinking about this whole myth of isolation, separation, like the nuclear family, we're on our own, or individualism, all these myths we've been told in modernity and our modern culture that has us feeling like we're supposed to do it by ourselves. And if we can't do it by ourselves, somehow we're like not successful. So bizarre. But I remember being like, really frozen by that for a lot of my life because I felt like it was all on my shoulders. What hubris, like to hold. It's like, my goodness, to even think that we can, first of all, and then to place that sort of pressure on ourselves. And when we realize, one of the things I say in the book a lot, and my mantra is, what is mine to do? What is mine to tend? Right. So, like, what is mine? And mine's very specific, related to the exact, whole life print that I've had to this moment. It's super specific, and that's perfect. And if we're each tending that small piece of this massive, beautiful garden ecosystem that is our earth, then it's incredible. It's like when we start to think we have to do it by ourselves and put that sort of shame and guilt on ourselves if we're not enough, it's like we're already enough just exactly as we are in this perfect life print that we've been given. And we tend to just ignore that, or think that somehow we need to do it without help. But that's, I think, what Inheritance Collective, like, if you could share a little bit about the vision, because I feel like you've so beautifully captured that potential and then paired it with something that is such a it's just such an energy on the earth is money, right? It's the largest collective agreement we make every single day on the planet. Literally. Every day we agree to uphold this like thing we call money in this certain way that it's like being held and shaped. And so therefore it has this incredible potential to become something else. And I think you're tapping into that like collective desire to be part of something beyond the single self, and be in service too. So if you want to share a little bit about that vision, I think it would be really beautiful. I know that some people have heard it and some have not.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. Well, the vision came through a contemplation, a conscious contemplation of being in a personal retreat last August and choosing to sit with the question of pretty much like, how the fuck can we meet what we're
Mm.
facing head on and be able to make meaningful, measurable change? And I allowed myself, I really believe a lot in the art of contemplation as a
Mm.
practice, to give ourselves space to just be in a question. And I was in nature with time every day to just have thinking time, or contemplation time. It's almost like non-mind. It's very receptive. When I get into that space, I really appreciate how it is to contemplate life in that way. Beautiful practice, especially from the Gene Keys. And I was in that contemplation, and this word came through, just a word, just inheritance.
Mm.
And part of the contemplation was because I was looking at the whole web of like, wow, there's all these amazing projects, but one thing most of them have in common is a lack of financial capacity to
Mhm.
do what their beautiful vision is, but they're constantly unable to do it. Meanwhile, Elon Musk just became a trillionaire, and just like seeing that massive imbalance and being like, okay, where does the redistribution of wealth happen? How can we keep the power in the hands of the people to be able to demonstrate what we believe in? And I was just in that, and then the word inheritance came through, and I was just kind of like, okay, well, that I don't have really an inheritance. Like, I don't have any rich aunties that I'm expecting to, like become a millionaire out of. I'm just kind of like, okay, cool. So I sat with that for a couple of days and had different ideas of like, well, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. And then I was having a really sweet moment just out in the garden, kind of like not thinking too hard about it. And all of a sudden it was like an entire map just dropped into my being. And it was very detailed and also very simple because the essentially the blueprint that was delivered to me, I believe, by Pachamama herself, was to bring people together and to pull from the ideas of tithing and barn raising, which is a
Yep.
permaculture term. Barn raising is the idea that like many people can come together, and if you have a whole barn to build and you've got one guy building it, it's going to take a lot longer than if you have the neighborhood rally and you've got 20 people putting it all together and like you built a barn in a day, you
Yep.
know. And then tithing, we see funding major religious organizations all over the planet to build temples and do missions trips, and like good for them, you know.
Yeah.
And may we support ecological and cultural preservation with
Hmm.
that same energy. And that's really the prayer of my heart, is to be able to support the ones that have the wisdom, that have carried the wisdom for lineages of how to conserve and protect our natural precious resources. Not, I don't even like calling them resources, just our natural precious
Our inheritance. Yeah.
inheritance. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I was like, oh yeah,
The
that's what
gift
it
we've been
is.
given. Yeah.
Exactly. It's the
By the
gift. It's
earth.
that which we've been given, and also that which we've been given, and then we're responsible to care for so that we can pass it on
Yes.
to the next generation.
Yeah.
And the simplicity of it was to get 1 million people together for
Mhm.
$22 a month,
Yep.
and to then have $22 million a month to put towards conservation, preservation, and regeneration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. So many things as you're saying that. My dear friend Alnor Ladhai has this saying, we are entitled to nothing and entrusted with everything. And it's that idea, right? That none of it's ours and all of it is ours to care for. And it's this gift that we get to like beautifully steward. And having just been a few days in the Aspen wilderness, just like experiencing nature, I was literally grinning ear to ear with just the joy that Pachamama was offering me from just simply being. And I was thinking, as you're saying too, like this wisdom of not knowing and the wisdom of not doing, like sometimes just being in the not knowing of the inquiry, of not having to have the answer, and then in the not doing of contemplation, of just letting whatever is there, like then you become this like incredible sensing mechanism. And the universe is alive with information that it wants to offer to you, that is just there. And so you become a receptor to those ideas and those inspirations. And it can be easeful that way, right? And then the work comes in with like the step, one step at a time. But what I witness in you is this beautiful way to just start. I just want to honor and acknowledge that in you, that you like have these ideas and you bring them forth. Like that is such a superpower and such a beautiful
Yeah.
example for people right now, because so many of us, have these ideas, they come through and they're like different blocks get in the way. And I was just speaking with my friend about this before this call, and it's like we don't, enact them. And it's like you just start. And I just love watching that happen. And I was also thinking as you were speaking about my experience with the Wailua floods that just happened a few, like not that many weeks ago in Hawaii. And our farm and temple was, 10 feet of water, 4 feet of mud deposited over like 2 acres of land. And I was in Japan when it happened, watching it on social media. It was super overwhelming. My whole community was completely devastated. And we came home and I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to come home to? Like, what is this going to be? And I remember going down the first day, and my husband had been there, Brady had been there the day before, and he'd started on some of the cleanup. And he's like, you just got to get down here. There's lots happening. There's people. It's great, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I just got to get down there. And my dear friend had shown up that morning with two of her friends that I didn't even know. And they're like, we're here to do whatever it takes. And she sent me a message before I got there. She's like, sister, we got this, one shovel at a time, one shovel of mud at a time. And I showed up and they were in one of our, with these two 40-foot containers filled with mud, all the stuff in them destroyed. And they're literally in there just shoveling mud, one shovel at a time. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I look around, there's more people I don't even know all over the place. I go into our temple, this beautiful temple that we've built that's just so sacred. Her name's Hokuau. It's Venus when she becomes the morning star, and she's held so many beautiful healing experiences. And I had to climb through the window because the mud was, and my boot got stuck on the way there and I fell in the mud. So I'm covered in mud. Boots are covered in mud. It's like, we don't know if it's toxic. It's like a whole thing. I'm climbing through the window to get into the temple. I have a shovel. My friend's in there shoveling. And so I start shoveling with him, and it's super overwhelming because there's like a foot of mud. It's sloshy. It looks like pudding all through the temple. All the like sacred objects are all over the place. Somehow the altar's intact. Crystals are still on it.
Course.
I'm like, how the hell? I don't know, but it's like altar's still there. And I'm starting to shovel the mud. And people were just showing up. Like random people are crawling through the window, huge smiles on their face. I have no idea who they are, where they came from. They don't know who I am. They don't know this is my place. You know, it's not even my place, right? It's like our place at this point in my being. I'm just feeling this like resonance of the collective. And they just grab a shovel and they start shoveling. Guy brings like a boom box. He puts it on the altar. He starts playing music. Everyone's dancing. I'm totally crying. I'm like, what is happening here? Like, how is this even possible? And I had this total download. I was like, wow, I'm in the temple shoveling mud, and this is just as sacred as the most sacred ceremony we've held in here. It's like this is sacred. This like doing what needs to be done to clean the mess that we've made as humanity, right? And the earth inviting us into that cleaning process, whatever it looks like for you, whatever you're experiencing inwardly and outwardly, is like we're here for that moment to remember that we are a collective. And that, like you said, you know, with the barn raising, it's like it would have taken Brady and I, like, who knows how long. And in a
Yeah.
matter of like 4 hours, the whole temple was cleaned out of mud, and then other parts were getting cleaned, and it was just this radical experience of what we can do as a collective. And I think that the earth is inviting us into that remembrance, and she's giving us, like, you know, tough mama love. She's like, okay, you guys can't remember, I'm going to slap you with some disasters so you can remember, because you're not paying attention, you know. And I really felt that with that experience, that if we can pause long enough and get out of the story of self, of like, oh my God, how did this happen to me? You know, I could have like wallowed in all the horribleness. And instead I was like, what is this offering me? Like, why am I here? I'm here for a reason. This has happened to me for a reason. What is it? You know, I got curious and I just really stayed present to the moment, you know. And I think that's one of the practices we need to, as hard as it can be at times, we need to really lean into right now, because we're not, you know, it's not going to get easier for a little while. So, like, how might this bring us closer together, you know, and closer to earth and closer to our true purpose?
Mhm. Yeah, there's that piece of like, why is this happening to me?
Hmm.
And I feel like on the other side of the spectrum of that is also like, who am I to make any sort of difference?
Totally.
And you touched on something really important, that part of like shoveling the mud matters.
Yeah.
Like what you're creating. And I love how you speak about this, the etheric temple that we're crafting right now, of
Hmm.
like, as so much is burning, the phoenix that's rising from the ashes and the seeds that we're planting in our consciousness, like that is the ceremony. Shoveling mud is the ceremony, it is the prayer. And there's many studies that show that we're an interconnected species, organism, all of Earth. There's the noosphere that connects our consciousness and wraps this web around the planet. And I would dare to say that a community that doesn't even know each other coming together in Oahu to shovel mud out of a temple is actually a form of remediation for the war machine
Yeah,
that is wreaking havoc on the other side of the globe. You know, like it
absolutely.
actually is a balancing act. And with that, I feel it's important for us to really remember that everything matters, you know, and not to bypass the reality that we're facing and bury our heads in the ground and just live in oblivion, but to act as though every single time that you say a prayer to the waters, or
Hmm.
that you help a neighbor, or that you choose to invest your money in a local farmer versus industrial agriculture, it all matters.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate this piece of honoring that, and then of also rewriting humans into our story of a thriving, healthy ecosystem. We had a
Hmm.
guest speaker on a couple of days ago, Laura Exley, who is an amazing earth mama, protector, ecologist, and activist. And she was speaking about how uh, really placing ourselves back as a part, an important part of the ecosystem, because I think there has developed to be this story of like shaming our humanity, being like, oh, the world would just be better without humans, you know,
Totally.
but like, as I understand it, actually humans have played a huge role in the cultivation of the Amazon rainforest. And like when we're in balance with nature, we can be beneficial.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, though, our mentality, our wetiko, our delusional mind has gotten very distorted, and what we value and what we're prioritizing has gotten distorted. And so that's something I'm really interested in, is like how we can write ourselves back into the human story. And that's what I also really appreciate about Our Beloved Futures, is I feel that book gives us context for that. And your whole transmission is like, no, it's not about just eliminate the humans and the earth will be fine. It's like, how do we engage in a beautiful, beneficial way?
Totally. Yeah, I mean it's this ability to see, like you said, the Wetiko, the mind viruses of consumption, capitalism, all the isms that are not actually us, that the human is something else, and that those are actually an imposed way of thinking and being. And when we can separate ourselves from that, and then it's not about shame and blame, because it's like we're all complicit in this moment. And so we it's like our divine duty to bear witness to what we've done and hold like a collective self accountability without collapsing into the shame and blame, because that's not useful, right? Again, back to this idea of becoming useful in the time of the dissolving, what we might call the collapse. It's like it requires the ability to see fully and truly both like what's happening out there and how it's reflected in your inner state, and then to not like be collapsed by that and fall, fall frozen, but actually to move from that place into action, to be like, okay, I see it now, and I see, and like that knowledge becomes my power and my ability to see that like the human biology, our body is such a divine intelligence that was gifted to us from Mother Earth. And then our souls are, around and within that divine biological intelligence. What a gift to be like experiencing that, and like I said, being in nature yesterday, it was like my whole being was just lit up. And the beauty that's provided is freaking unbelievable. Like she just gives and gives and gives. And it's like nonstop and it's incredible. And we've just created such separation from that that we forget how readily available that is. It's just there and it's free and it's always part of us and we are that. So I think there's a way in which when we can start to then take that understanding of like the collective, what I call mind virus and this distortion, and then see with like real compassion where it lives within us in micro actions and ways that we have patterns in our lives, and just start to, I use the metaphor in the book of untangling the knotted thread, right? It's like just start, you have this like tangle and you don't know where to start. Just start pulling on a thread and
Exactly.
eventually it'll loosen and start to just unravel. And when that happens, it's almost like it's like this graceful moment where just, and then it dissolves. And I think we're going to see more and more of that collectively, where things just start to dissolve. And in that process, we're going to be facing some real deep, dark stuff that's been buried, and we have been. And it's like that's going to keep being unearthed because we have to see it. We have to bear witness. We have to understand what we've done and then hold that with the grace of forgiveness. And so we can move forward and take action, and keep going. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, perfect. Yes. I would love to talk about grief for a
yeah,
moment.
that'd be great.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it is. And I love how you bring it into the book, of just like we do need to be able to be with our grief. And um, we, imagining you up in the Colorado forest and all the animals and the beauty and the trees and just all the beauty that you have been able to be immersed in these recent days. There's this interesting reality of urgency,
mhm.
right? Because I do feel like I'm more and more retiring this like youthful need to like save the world now and like
Yeah,
rushing and pushing, and because that actually feels like it's kind of the same mentality as the issue of like progress at what cost.
yeah.
And like actually like slowing down and trusting and really like letting our nervous systems be regulated is also a form of activism.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, there is a sense of urgency. I mean, even just on a very basic level, the
Totally.
the huge reality we're facing of our national parks being compromised right now, literally being sold
Yeah.
illegally being sold. The national, what are they? The who are the ones that care for the national parks?
Board of Lands and
Rangers.
Management. Yeah, the
Then,
Rangers.
yeah, yeah, just like departments being closed, people being laid off, these huge parcels of land being made available for data centers and mining and
Yeah,
extraction. And yeah, it just brings up so much grief, you know?
totally.
And I wonder how to, and your book shares about this, you know, like how to be with that grief and allow it, you know, and thank you for addressing that part of me that just like does things. And it's so funny that we started this with the solar plexus. I was like, of
Yes.
course we're starting this, like it's so me. Like I'm literally that girl of just like you tell
Yeah.
me an idea, it's gonna be like
Next thing
done
it's
in
like
a
happening. Yeah,
second.
totally. It's so good.
Careful what ideas you tell me, you know. And also getting into action, but then also creating space for the grief, you know,
Yeah.
like there's that beautiful simultaneous process that we get to honor. And I would love to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, I'm thinking about the prayer for ending rape and war that you started, 100-year prayer, like, and just opened a space for women to join and face these really big, hard, scary, deep topics. It's like sometimes it's that simple. And I think it comes back to also the individual, like being and then knowing that we're connected in the way you talked about the noosphere, that we're always interbeing, as my friend people who's on this call and I like to talk about. It's like we're so connected and like the everything we do affects everything else. And so it's not selfish to focus on the self in service to collective liberation, right? So there's always that like focusing on healing myself in service to so that I may become more useful, so that the prayer of my life becomes useful to what's happening. And so it's like just starting is one thing, and then really focusing on cleansing and clearing your own vessel as a gift, this vessel being a gift, treating it as such, remembering that it's sacred, remembering that all of life is sacred. And if we enough of us start to do that, I truly believe there's going to be a massive sea change on the planet. And it's really, really hard because some of the stuff we're facing, like genocide in Gaza, the like destruction of natural lands in America, the authoritarianism on the rise, the general sort of violence that's happening in communities all over the place. It's a lot. And so like acknowledge that and find others that you can sit with in that grief, because it helps to hold it together. And in that prayer for peace that you're holding, it's like just to be in a room virtually with other women where it's like we can cry and feel that and be like, oh my God, it's fucking gnarly out there. And that's true. And we're still here. And for those of us that have the privilege of safety, security, food, water, like nature, like it's our kuleana, as we say in Hawaii. It's our blessed right and our blessed responsibility to take that capacity and put it to use. And there's so much joy in service. It's like I was talking to someone the other day. It's like, how do you get out of that sort of the darkness that can start to cave in when you really like see what's happening in the world? Service is such a great way to move through that. Like just be in service to people that are nearby you, be in service to the natural world around you, pay attention. I love what Isis says about notice what notice is noticing you. Just take a moment to like notice and appreciate a tree outside your window. Like there's really simple things we can do on a daily basis. And I do believe that those like small practices that we do every day that bring us back to center, that remind us of the gratitude of the beauty of the moment, really get us back into like our bodies, back into this incredible divine universe. It's like we hold that frequency as much as we can, not bypassing, facing the truth, like being with it, feeling the grief, because grief is sacred. It shows us what we love. We only grieve that which we love, right? So if we're grieving something, that means we care about it. And how beautiful to be caring. How beautiful to have a heart big enough to feel the world, even in its difficult moments. So just, yeah, I think feeling that, letting it come through, not stuffing it down. We're taught to stuff down our feelings. Find people who like are willing to feel with you and let that be part of the process. It's such a beautiful thing. And to see your tears, like they're so sacred. There's the salt water in our tears. I started with reading about salt. The salt water in our tears has been proven scientifically to hold exactly the chemical composition that your body needs to heal whatever emotion is coming through. I mean, what? Like that's like so incredible. Like just pause for a moment and think about that. Like our tears are literally like healing salve for the emotions we're feeling. So like let them fall, let them grace your cheek with their presence. Like how beautiful is that?
Oh, yeah, it makes me feel like on the other side of grief is awe.
Yeah.
Just right now in this moment, feeling that, and also something Charles Eisenstein said in a session we had with him recently was really he gave us a big invitation to not try to arrive at solutions too quickly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like the the process of being allowed to be in the process. And I feel that possibility of grief turning into awe when we can get into the process of be like, look, shit's intense. It's
Yeah.
tragic.
Yeah.
And rather than being like, how can we solve it tomorrow? Like, yeah, that is my inclination to be considering how can we move the marker. Yet at the same time, I'm learning more and more that part of the way that we actually move towards the beautiful, our beloved future
Mhm.
is to be with it and then to be in companionship with it, whatever it is, to be like,
Yeah.
hey, we're here, we're together, we're breathing.
Yeah. Still
we're,
here.
we're we're
So
still
there's
here,
more to
we're
come. There's
cleansing
more to
our
come if we're still
vessels, we're
here.
honoring, yeah, everything is a prayer. And through that togetherness and the willingness to sit in the discomfort,
Yes.
new possibilities arrive.
Yeah, I love thinking about the difference between an inquiry and a question. And to me, like an inquiry is something that isn't actually meant to be answered. It's something we sit
Mm.
with and we let simmer in our bodies and we share with others and we sort of like play with and dance with and sit with and be uncomfortable with and, arrive at ideas with, but never answer. Like it's something that's so big, it can't be answered and it shouldn't be answered, and in some ways we ask questions seeking answers for some false sense of certainty that actually isn't true. And there's certain like logistical things that we can answer, like should I go to the doctor next week? Sure, maybe that's a yes, but it's like these bigger questions, they're actually not meant to be answered. They're meant to be sat with. And they're inquiries that we hold, and then we hold them collectively, and that allows something else to emerge. And it invites the intelligence of life to join us in the inquiry. So that, we have this desire as our human mind to make sense of everything. And that's been, I think, a lot of the violence that is done is from our desire to control and make sense and feel safe. And when we can get really safe in the uncertainty, the idea that uncertainty is the space of pure possibility. It's where everything could happen because nothing's set, right? Like, what does that look like? If we get to actually see this moment of dissolution, I call it the chrysalis. It's that moment in the caterpillar when everything melts to goo, where it's like it's everything's up is down and down is up and nothing makes sense and I don't know what's going on. Can feel really scary, but if you can get comfortable in that place, then it's like, what are the imaginal cells that are actually seeking to find each other and birth something completely new that we've never seen before? So we just have to practice our way into feeling comfortable in that natural discomfort because we've been raised in systems from early schooling in the Western paradigm that tries to tell us there's answers in a book and you just got to memorize them, show up and sit in your desk and someone's going to tell you what it is. It's like we've been trained. So there's a whole unlearning process that has to happen. And giving yourself grace with that to just start to ask the deeper inquiries of like, what is it that is holding me back? What is it that I am afraid of? How can I start to loosen some of that fear and invite in this uncertainty? I think what you shared with the, sitting and doing nothing and just inviting in the not knowingness with contemplation
Oh,
is a
so
great
good.
practice, free and available any day. You can try it. Take
Totally.
5 minutes. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
and see what comes through, and like release the need for it to be anything other than what it is, and when the hard emotions come up, release the need to understand exactly where they're coming from. Just let them be. We tend to try to make meaning of stuff all the time. We're meaning making machines, which can be so beautiful.
Yeah.
And sometimes just let it go and let it be whatever it is. It doesn't have to have meaning tied to it per se, you know.
Um,
Yeah.
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 Sometimes shit happens. And that's just
Yes.
how it is.
Yeah, and I think for both of us, we're parents, right? So
Yeah.
we're dealing with the like uncertainty and the fear of like stewarding these beautiful light beings that are coming to the planet right now that want to be part of this great experience that's happening. And like the release and surrender that's required in that to just trust that they're on their own journey of unfolding. And, and that radiates out to all beings that we're in communication with and communion with.
Yeah, and their little permission slips, I tell you what. I mean, anytime I try to talk myself out of starting something that feels meaningful and useful, as
Mm.
simple or complex as it may be, my sons and my other children that I didn't birth, but that are like my the next generation. Like I just love them, and they're
Yes,
so brave for coming in right now.
totally.
And they really, just thinking about them gives me ultimate permission to just do it, whatever it is, to do it
Yep.
imperfectly
Yep.
and to do it for them. And, I mean, even just in the simple form of like making content, like
Mm.
creating written and visual expressions that then can be received by the public to describe what is quite ineffable ultimately,
Yes. Hmm.
but to try to like formulate something. And that's one of the pieces of feedback I get all the time is like, oh, you just like put stuff out. Like, you're just a prolific creator. I'm like, yeah, totally. And I could spend way more time perfecting it
Mhm.
and maybe never put it out because I'm just like hanging myself up on whatever and like screw it, just do it is one of my
Totally. I
other
like that's a
mantras.
good mantra. Screw it, just do it. That's a good one. I'm gonna take that one and run with it. And I'm thinking of our friend Blue, who's really the call to authenticity, like to
Yes,
just show
exactly.
up
Oh,
messy and like in the moment and snotty if you've been crying or like without your makeup on. Like it's like we don't need to be perfection is not helping anyone because it's
no, it's
keeping us
not.
trapped in this like disillusion that we have to be something other than ourselves to be worthy and useful. And that's not true, you know?
Exactly. And that's like that's the kind of example that I want to be.
Yeah.
Like, forever refining. Lord
Yeah.
knows I've refined myself a lot in the last decade and will continue to do that and is showing up in my exalted state, but also with all of my imperfections and my humanity and my challenges and my struggles and making it real because
Yeah.
then and this gives me permission to then think of like, wow, I hope that within my creative process that people see me simply creating because I love it and because I believe in what I'm creating and I believe it can somehow make this world a more beautiful place. And that maybe too, they can see that as an example and feel liberated to bring forth their own art, mission, message, whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I know our cohort with the Oracle Arts apprenticeship that you stewarded was really around this idea of natural beauty, and authenticity has been such a theme through that. And I know for me, it's been like this aging process as a woman is so bizarre. Like I've gone through menopause, I just turned 50. I'm like, what the hell? I started growing my gray hair out like 6 weeks ago now. I just finally said, I was like, what am I doing? I live this like super clean life for the most part, obviously not perfect, but like relatively clean. I care about toxicity. I use like clean products. And I'm like, I'm putting like toxins on my scalp every so many weeks to cover up this gray hair. I'm like, what is that all about? And I had to really like sit with like, why am I doing that? It's not in integrity with who I am at all. And so I started growing it out and I have like all this like silver coming out if you could see it, but it's been this
Beautiful.
beautiful process. And my kids like love it. And they're like, Mom, your hair looks so great. And I was literally, it was so funny. I'm like, I swear she was some angel from my higher self. I walked into the gas station on my way driving to Aspen, and this random woman walks past me. She goes, "Love your hair," and I was like, "What?" And like, my hair was messy, and I was like, "What is she seeing it that she loves?" And I'm like, "I think it's just like an angel reminding me, like you're doing the right thing here." But it's
Yeah.
been fascinating to confront that process as a woman in our culture and just
Yeah.
sit with like the aging and like the wrinkles and like the things that are changing in my body and like and just to be like, okay, I can be authentic with this. And the young ones in my
Mm.
life, my kids in particular, are such a gift because they just keep reminding me of the beauty that they see in me and like loving the wrinkles and loving that silver hair. And I'm like, oh, okay, like I don't have to be anything other than this. Like there's a different kind of beauty that shines through that can just be me, and I don't have to play into that whole because it's a distraction, and it's leading us away from our true purpose and taking our energy and siphoning our self-worth and all kinds of stuff. So that's been a really interesting journey in these past 6 months since I turned 50. It's like it's a big
Oh my
experience.
God. We had, I mean, I can only imagine, first of all, honoring that process and slightly terrified of it, but also excited.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just another part, right? I
It
mean,
is. And it's like, I mean, some of those beautiful women I've seen are the ones that are like wrinkly and gray and torched by the sun and missing a tooth, but their
yeah, yeah,
joy is so vital coming through
yeah,
their eyes that it's like they're magnetic and
yeah,
deeply attractive in a way that goes so far beyond the superficial context that we've created in modernity.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we spent a week in silence, Blue and I, with a group of 20 women down at Yakumama Eco Retreat in Costa Rica, and it was such a hilarious quality of Blue and I always like just loving our beauty of being
Yeah.
like covered in mud, so sweaty,
Yeah.
no makeup, hair in a messy bun or whatever, wearing the simplest of clothes. Like, with the Oracle, we're like, okay, wear this color, wear that color,
Yeah,
like all the priestess
totally.
garb comes out. I was like, dress whatever's comfortable,
Yeah.
and the beauty of the women was on another level. Like each
Yeah.
one of us was radiating so deeply, drinking spring water, bathing in the rivers every day, eating amazing food, just being in our joy.
Yes.
And I pretty much believe that that is the best beauty trick
I
is
agree.
joy.
Yes, joy and light. Yeah, totally. Feeling your light from within. Because
Yeah.
it's like you can see how, like, even the vision of a person changes depending on where they're feeling in their body. It's really wild because we are these energetic beings. We're not just blood and bone. And the quantum understanding is like so much more prevalent and proven scientifically for those that need that, and the rest of us that just kind of know it. It's like we are like nothing is solid. It's all changing from within. And so there's a way in which that becomes true. And what a great invitation. I mean, I think that's for me the most exciting part of this really hard time is that what we're being asked to become is so beautiful. Like it's what we're being asked to become is simple, connected, bound with nature, bound with each other, living these lives of just like beauty and grace where we eat healthy food and drink clean water and care for each other and have multi-generational living experiences and simplify how we live and use less energy and all this stuff that like feels so hard because we're so addicted to these other ways of being. But when we start to really like experience that, and that's why I think, and you do this so well with what you're doing in Costa Rica and the way you're living, I think the more we can create lived imprints of possibility, that's how my friend Yael speaks to it. I just love that phrase, the
Mm,
lived
I love
imprints of
that.
possibility of what
Yeah.
it's like to actually be in that future. Then we get to remember like, oh, this is actually really awesome. Like it's rad, it feels good, it's like joyful, it's celebratory, it's easier. We have a village taking care of our kids, we have, a village taking care of our elders are part of our life. Like all these things that we're being asked to do to meet what's coming, they're actually really incredible. So they don't have to be so scary. It's like the scary part is the like dying empire taking its last gasps because that's where the
Yeah.
violence is happening. That's but it is its last gasps, and there's going to be violence on the way out. And so we have to be prepared for that, but we shouldn't be afraid of it because what's on the other side is so beautiful. And if we can hold that multi-generational perspective and the seven generations thinking where it's like, I may plant the seed today and the tree may blossom 2 generations from now, 3 generations from now, but knowing that I planted the seed is enough for me today. We can really embody that perspective, then we can start to live in those futures now. And I think that's how we start to, like you said, build the etheric body of what's to come is to be in that
Yeah.
frequency. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're coming in for a sweet landing with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And just to say too, I mean that what you mentioned right now, that is a very effective antidepressant.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
facing this moment of people being on all kinds of crazy pharmaceuticals and suicide rates, and
Oh my God.
just it's so deeply tragic. And that natural human inclination that we have to feed something that we will never get to experience the fruits of, to plant those seeds that the shade of which we'll never be sitting in,
Mhm.
that keeps the wheel of life moving.
Yeah.
And so, however much we can do that, I mean, it goes so far, it takes us beyond our selfishness and into this, but actually, like a deeply rewarding reality that nourishes the soul like nothing else.
Yeah,
So, may
absolutely.
we fit ourselves into that wheel somehow, in whatever way it is for us. If we're in the middle of a city or out in the jungle, like we can all find that way of plugging in and being a part of this reciprocity.
Yeah, it's everywhere, and I think we started with this idea of taking small steps, and just doing what you can where you are. What is
Yeah.
mine to do? What is mine to tend? If you ask yourself that question each day and just pray and have some contemplation, maybe prayer is not the right word for you, just contemplate that question, sit with nature and let answers start to come, and then take those really small steps because you shift a massive ship 1 degree, it goes to a completely new continent. So like just let the 1 degree be enough and see what
Mm-hmm.
happens. So, oh, I
Mm,
love you so much.
I love you.
Such a beautiful conversation. And yeah,
Really, always.
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you for your wisdom and your leadership. And I'm so honored to be in sisterhood and collaboration with you.
yeah, absolutely. May we do many things together in our lifetime.
Yeah, just getting started.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, love.
Well, thank you to those that have tuned in, whether you're live with us now or catching the recording. This will have a follow-up session. We're going to bring Aubrey back to Inheritance Collective next month to get to drop in with her and bring questions from the community and dive even deeper into the channel that you are and the wisdom that has flown through you, poured through you with our beloved futures. And yeah, so much more to come. So thank you from the bottom of my heart and looking forward to our beloved futures.
Yes, may it be so. So much love to you.
Aloha.